Today, we speak to a crafts expert who tells us which common household item makes for a great duster or dish rag in a pinch. It's a Kentucky 40-0 t-shirt.
And we'll read a special apology letter to the referees from Wisconsin coach Bo Ryan. Oh, it just says but.
It's time to wake up, college basketball! Welcome back to Wake Up College Basketball, brought to you by our friends at Samsung and their beautiful SUHD TV. Look at that curve. All right, joined by Ryan Nanny. The tournament is over. Let's recap everything. This is our overview show. So now that you can look back on the field and the bracket, what was your most awesome thing?
I have to go with Michigan State. They were so much fun watching them turn it on as the tournament progressed. Specifically, Travis Trice.
Lightning.
Averaged 19 points a game in the tournament, about 4 assists. Did little things here and there, and mostly what was impressive about Trice was that he didn't shrink to any moment.
Correct.
Whether they were playing Louisville or Oklahoma,
Virginia,
or even in the Duke game where they didn't show up all that well, he still came out and played a very good game. And it was just it's always fun to see a player like that who maybe isn't the most heralded coming into the tournament, but gets it going and really takes his team further than anybody thinks they should have gone.
Yeah, the variety of the teams that Trice was excellent against and the types of defense, the types of players he dominated, impressive all around. It was really fun to watch him. My awesome thing, I think, is just in general, Notre Dame. Mike Bray and the Irish the past few years not really breaking through, getting to the second weekend as often.
You had no faith in this team coming into the tournament.
I really didn't, and they were great in the ACC tournament. Perhaps they would have peaked there. Of course, this is a Notre Dame team that has beaten America's national champion twice.
They have.
Now, during the regular season and the tournament. But
they've also got stomped by them.
Yes, they did. Demetrius Jackson, Pat Connaughton with his performances late, and obviously Jerry and Grant. What they did against three really good teams in different ways, Wichita State, Butler, and then Kentucky. Not a huge team, Notre Dame, sticking to their game plan, stretching Kentucky out, taking them to the very end. I could not have been more impressed with what Notre Dame did and in sticking to their game. Yeah,
the Kentucky-Notre Dame game, I don't know if it was the most fun to watch because that's so subjective, but it was certainly one of the most fun games.
You watched that and you said clearly Mike Bray had a game plan and they executed it perfectly.
Until the very end when they did.
Until the very end.
We'll ignore that.
That's
we'll move on. Yeah.
What to you were you not expecting at the beginning of the tournament that we can look back on now?
So Pac-12 only got 4 teams into this tournament, one of whom I think UCLA, people were very upset to see them get in.
Yeah, that was strange.
Other than Arizona, though, this was not a conference where people said, "Oh, this has a bunch of teams
on the level of some other big ones," right?
And they stepped up. Nobody lost in the first round.
Right.
Nobody lost to a lower seed. UCLA made it all the way to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
The other 3 teams, Oregon, Utah, and Arizona, they all lost to the 2 teams that played in the national final, and they looked pretty competitive. And
acquitted themselves very well doing so.
Yeah.
Utah taking Duke late into the game. Oregon down 3 with a couple minutes left against Wisconsin.
Yeah. So it's nice to see that even though we don't talk about Pac-12 basketball a lot nationally. They came out and they didn't really let that bother them, the lack of hype or the lack of attention. They played very strong basketball and showed you that there is a reason to feel good that this is not just a one-team conference.
Yeah, and they're going to be even better next year. A lot of teams adding depth, a lot of good recruiting classes coming in. I'm going to stick with the conference theme. I could have gone with the Big 12, who everybody said the deepest, the best, whatever, and they were just awful.
Yeah.
I was a little bit more surprised, not necessarily by Villanova losing early, but the Big East in general.
Yeah.
Other than Xavier, nobody really acquitted themselves all that well. Butler beat Texas, but it was not a great Texas team that probably themselves should not have been in that tournament in the first place. But yeah, Providence and Villanova, Georgetown. These are all teams that are in a conference specifically for basketball.
Right.
These are all historic basketball programs.
And have looked good over the course of the season. Like, you've watched these teams play during the regular season,
John's
and you think,
though,
that's a team that could do some damage when the tournament comes around. It just didn't it didn't happen.
Talent across the board, and really went out, other than Xavier looking really good against everybody, even the Arizona game, it looked good. Stainbrook was a star, whatever.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was just like womp womp
it
for
was
the
pretty
Big
meh.
East.
Yeah.
All right, looking forward, because I did mention recruiting.
Right.
What to you is the most meaningful thing that you can take forward from this tournament?
Okay, so you look at the Final Four coaches, and John Calipari is the only one who isn't at least 60 years old.
Wow.
Like, it's good to see that you have these experienced coaches who have been able to build teams, and even when they've had a down year, they bounce back from that, whatever. But there is sort of a question of, is there going to be a changing of the guard?
Right.
When is that going to happen? Who is that going to be?
Right.
There are some opportunities for younger coaches to sort of step up and be the next Izzo, be the next Coach K. But it is starting to feel like it's not necessarily clear who that's going to be. Is it like Tony Bennett at Virginia?
Right.
Is he going to be that? Is it going to be Miller at Arizona?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see, because we've maybe only got a couple more years of the old guard sticking around before they're going to start hanging it up.
And we did see it last year with UConn replacing Jim Calhoun and having immediate success. So we know it can be done at those big places. But yeah, it is interesting to see what these programs are going to do, succession plans. The Miller boys, Sean and Archie Miller are two big names. Shaka Smart going over to Texas, which is where I sort of take my meaningful thing, looking forward at the recruiting classes, at what various football powers are doing in the way of basketball. Texas hiring Shaka Smart, Ben Howland to Mississippi State, Alabama hiring Avery Johnson. Which, who knows? But LSU...
He's never lost a game as a college coach.
Very fair and kind of irrelevant. But LSU taking Kentucky to the wire during the regular season. They've got the #1 recruit in the country coming in. So it'll be interesting to see. North Carolina, a disappointing-ish tournament. They lose to Wisconsin, but they return pretty much everybody.
Right.
But with the recruiting class coming in, Arizona's losing some big names, but they've got a couple of huge names coming in. They've got an outstanding class. The Pac-12 is only getting stronger. So in line with your coaches getting older thing, I feel like the landscape is going to start shifting, I don't know, towards the SEC. Florida can't be any worse and have any worse luck.
No, they can't.
So that, to me, is going to be interesting to see how the shape of college basketball changes geographically.
And, of course, Tennessee hiring that young upstart, Rick Barnes. Great job, Tennessee.
There it is. All right, so that is this week's episode. We're going to leave you, though. Ron Hunter. Still, to me, the enduring face, tears his ACL, still is on the stool. His son's going to be a first-round pick for Georgia State, and just so happy with the game winner, Kersplat. So great. I can't even be mad.
I think he thought he could fly at this moment.
I would think I would be able to as well.
The R. Kelly song was playing in his head, and he said, I really believe I can fly.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to sing. I'm sorry.
I will always sing. Anyway, thank you very much for everybody for watching the entire tournament. Thank you to Samsung and their beautiful SUHD TV. It's so curved and lovely. Everybody should go get one. We will see you very soon.